Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. Quick fire video with my friend, Buvey. Another Lawrence. One of the greatest Lawrences on YouTube these days. How are you, mate, first and foremost?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm slowly recovering from Madrid, but I'm doing okay.
That's it. So I messaged you yesterday. We're recording this on Monday in what is a huge week for Man City. And it's one where, it's funny, isn't it? Because there are so many Liverpool fans, aren't there? That's my opening statement. There are so many Liverpool fans.
Many.
How do you cope with that before I kind of give you the second half of that question? How do you deal with, you've got a lot of Liverpool in your life, haven't you? So it's constantly by your side.
They're one of the most toxic fan bases, most entitled fan bases in world football, in world sport. I mean, they're some of them are abhorrent people on Twitter in particular. I'm sure they're nice people away from football, but look, ultimately they're entitled. They think they deserve to win the quadruple, and ultimately they might only end up with one or two trophies this season. I love to see it.
Yeah, because Guardiola, that's the first time I've seen that little bit of needle from him, where he said, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, don't you, straight away? Where he's talking about, well, they've only won. It's the first time he's given anything. He said they've only won one title in 30 years, and the media, everyone wants Liverpool to win it. Why do you think everyone wants Liverpool to win it? And is that true?
I think he's certainly true in the sense of, I think he's picking up on points that I've noticed as a fan in terms of the media. I think even yesterday, Martin Tyler's lack of celebration for our first goal against Newcastle. I saw against Leeds, Rodri's first goal, a kind of, City have scored. That kind of energy is really prevalent in the media. I'm not going to tie it into some big narrative as if the Premier League and Sky and BT all working to get us within 1 point of Liverpool on the final day of the Premier League season.
Sure.
But there is a narrative where I think Liverpool not being in the Premier League title race come the final couple of weeks of the Premier League makes it a bit flat for maybe viewing figures or whatever. I think there is that in the kind of commentary and the narrative of slowly being a little bit upset by City, pulling away like we are at the moment.
Because the Martin Tyler thing, I bet people will be straight in the comments on that one. Because Liverpool fans don't like Martin Tyler, do they? Because don't they think he's a Man United fan, or is it the fact that he doesn't like either, so he's just being subdued for both? Because I never spot this, Martin Tyler. I never see it, but it seems like Liverpool fans get annoyed by Martin Tyler, and you're getting a bit annoyed as well. Is it not due to the fact that Man City is so dominant in every game that it's almost hard to? When it's like Champions League, it beggars belief, like the Real Madrid game, for example, that's down to it exceeding our expectations. Or do you think like Martin Tyler should be turning it on? Because I know I'm talking about Martin Tyler here, but the broader problem that you probably have is Man City representation in the media. No.
Yeah, look, I think Martin Tyler is a fantastic commentator. He might just be getting to the end of his career, to be honest, because he's old. It's hard he's seen tens of thousands of goals. So I'm not expecting him to be gassed about City retaining a Premier League and grinding out games against, Leeds a couple of weeks ago, Newcastle. I'm not expecting him to be excited like he would have been for the Aguero goal. That's almost 10, 11 years ago now. So I don't expect that at all. But I think there's got to be more recognition of how well City have done. Look, we got to a Champions League semi-final, and we put 9 past Leeds and Newcastle within those 2 games without conceding a goal.
Yeah.
With Stones, Walker and Diaz being injured. I think that's very, very impressive. And one of those being away at Leeds. I mean, the media aren't talking about that. I mean, we are one of the great Premier League sides, potentially 4 Premier League titles in 5 years is almost unheard of.
It is mad, isn't it? That's the thing. I mean, that's kind of why I wanted to talk to you, because I always think it must be really tricky being a Man City fan, because like you say, I said this last week. I said, when Man City win a title, you kind of go, okay, and carry on. And is there any way out of that kind of shadow of the money and all those bits and pieces? Because I think that's part of the Liverpool thing as well. I think there's a lot of people, there's a lot of understandable propaganda towards the history, and there's so many more Liverpool fans. But that Man City side is... Why do we struggle to appreciate this Man City team then?
Look, the Champions League is a competition that creates narratives. You think about Gerrard in 2004, for example. Those kind of moments are sort of etched in history. Whereas Man City grinding out 2-0 against Burnley, 4-0 against Leeds, 4-1 against Watford. A league is maybe less dramatic. Obviously,
yeah, it's a lack of jeopardy, maybe.
Yeah, and that's why the World Cup is so incredible for so many countries who win it. Obviously, we wouldn't know that as England fans, but the Champions League has got there are moments, and that's why cup competition is so special. It's obviously there's so much jeopardy, of course, like you said, but the Premier League, I think, is the hardest competition to win in the world. I really do. I think the Champions League, Liverpool just got past Villarreal. I know they had no choice in the matter, but they got past Villarreal. I think the worst semi-finalists in the history of the competition in terms of quality. They were poor, did really well to get back in the second leg. Then they blew that as well in the second half. In the group, you've got a couple of weak sides potentially as well. If you're a high-seeded team, round of 16 is a weak side. They played Benfica before that. Real Madrid's a tough game. That's one off. We've got to go away to Spurs, Arsenal, United, Chelsea, Liverpool. Leeds is a huge club. Everton, Aston Villa. If we win the Premier League and get 100 points out of that, that's infinitely more, successful in my opinion.
Yeah,
obviously I would say that.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think it's tricky for you. I think it's really tricky for you. How do you feel? Do you feel like you've changed? Do you think you've changed somewhat in the last week due to that Real Madrid game and how that changed everything? Or because I think with Man City, the word I always go to is control. And you control most games of football. So when something like that Real Madrid game happens, where you didn't really do too much wrong, apart from obviously concede those goals, does that make you look at this week where you've got two tricky away games? Like you talk about the media, Jamie Carragher seems quite adamant that you will drop points in this next few games. How do you see this next week?
I think we've got a very good opportunity of getting 9 points out of the remaining games. I really do think that. I think, Leeds was the big one for me, and I said it in a couple of preview videos that I thought Leeds was actually a tougher game than Real Madrid, and that wasn't down to obviously the quality of both sides, but in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of the pressure in the Premier League, of how I know Guardiola treats the Premier League, he would have looked at that Leeds game and been absolutely shitting himself. And obviously we came out of that very, very well, and that's why I was so confident going to the Bernabeu, and obviously had my hopes dashed. Look, against Wolves, West Ham, these sides are on the beach. They booked their Ryanair flights. There's no question about it. That's not to say that they're going to discredit the competition and give up. But this City side have got so much fight in us. I saw that against Newcastle. We just put 5 past Newcastle.
Yeah. And
we've just had our hearts broken in Madrid. So it's a very, very impressive result. It wouldn't surprise me if we did drop points. We can afford to do that now, thanks to Spurs. Thankfully we can, as long as we keep kind of matching Liverpool's results, because Liverpool could drop points as well. I think we're very close to winning the Premier League. That could come back to bite me, of course, but I have to be confident in this side based on how we grind out wins in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think that's a really difficult thing. Well, not difficult. It's a blessing, but like you go into every game. I said this earlier in the season. It's like if you are, you might have gut feelings, and I do this a lot. You'd have to give my prediction on stuff. If Man City are involved in a game, you have to go. If you were just going purely on head, you generally have to go with Man City because the way that they control games and what they do. So that's why this. The only way you don't win it is if something bizarre happens, in my opinion. Like, deep down, do you feel like it's over?
I do. I don't want to speak too early. I just think what I've seen in the Premier League, look, there's a couple of examples when Liverpool were breathing down our necks. We had a very tough away day at Brighton, final day of the season a couple of years ago. We even conceded first to Glenn Murray back then. And we still got back in the game. Again, Wolves have had a great season. West Ham have had a fantastic season as well. They're still in the top half. And obviously Aston Villa on the final day of the season. Gerrard's got a lot to prove, including myself. I think he's been highly overrated as a manager since he's come in. I think he's not done masses since he's joined the Premier League. So he's got things to prove. But Eddie Howe had things to prove yesterday, and he lost 5-0. I'm not saying everyone's going to lose 5-0 to us, but I look at the momentum, nothing else to play for. Resting players, a couple of weeks at a time. 3 games, I think we should be winning all 3.
Yeah. If you track this in the middle of the season, you go, this should be a guaranteed 9 points. Absolutely. The only thing that changes it either way is the fact that it obviously means so much. Final 2 questions then for me, because you got to go. I know you've got to go. First one, who do you think is going to be the kind of the hero in these next 3 games? Because I know you've got like a few struggles with injuries, especially at the back. Is it Stones, Laporte, Diaz? Oh no, Laporte's okay, is he? How many of them are out?
It looks like Walker, Diaz, and
that's
Stones.
Walker, sorry, that's what I'm getting mixed up. Yes. So, if it were to go wrong, like who do you think? Where do you think it could go wrong? Do you think it's in that area? And if not, who will be the hero for you?
Well, the hero will be Fernandinho, in my opinion. I think he'll be playing for his legendary status. You want to leave on a high, and obviously he's gone under the radar. You think about big names that know they're leaving the club. After being so successful, you think about Lampard, Gerrard, all these guys in midfield. He's going to want to leave with his legacy intact at Man City. He came on as a centre back. He's played right back recently for Man City. I don't think he put in a bad shift. I know he got burned by Vinicius against Real Madrid. I think that turn would have killed most fullbacks, let alone a 37-year-old defensive midfielder playing there. He put in some big challenges in the Bernabeu. It wasn't his fault he got substituted on. Some people say that it was a bit too conservative too soon. But I think if there's anyone of the old guard left to kind of guide us to winning a Premier League title, it's going to be him. I think he's been really, really fantastic in the final 3 months of the season. I think another one as well, Nathan Ake, a fan favourite at City now, play left back, play centre back. He'd been a bit gutted against Newcastle. He didn't play as a centre back. I don't know if that's down to having two left-footed sort of centre backs being a bit weird for a football manager to kind of comprehend. But Nathan Ake, can play left back as well. He's been fantastic as well, especially against Atletico Madrid. He had a really good game against those guys. So those two in particular, literally, they have no choice. They have to step up to the plate for City.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you look at the fixtures, when you look at the precedent, Man City, it's theirs, but that's the one for me. It's that back line, and if you can kind of get at them a little bit more. That said, you've got a guy who's won everything apart from the Champions League, and you've got Nathan Ake, who cost a lot of money and actually would be getting a lot of Premier League sides. Final question for you, mate. Here we go. If you do win the title, what has been the difference between Man City and Liverpool? Why have you won it and they haven't? Aside from points.
I still think we control games better than them. I know Thiago's come in. I know Van Dijk's an immense ball-playing centre-back, and since he's come back from injury, he's been fantastic. I can't discredit that. I still think to retain a Premier League title, you have to have the best midfield in the league. The best midfield in the league that controls the ball will win the Premier League. And I really do think that. Cup competitions end-to-end, having fullbacks swinging balls in, Salah running down the line, that kind of bombastic football is incredible for cup competitions. In the league, that kind of metronome, ticking the ball over side to side. I know it's boring for some fans. I personally love that kind of control in a football game. We've still got the best midfielder doing that. I think Rodri is someone that's going to go completely under the radar. He's been absolutely immense, and he's now added goals to his game.
Yeah,
he's everything you'd want from a defensive midfielder. He's physical. The way he keeps the ball is absolutely immense. I think he might have actually been the difference. I know Fabinho is a fantastic player, but that Liverpool side, sometimes they don't always knit the ball well together, and sometimes they revert to crossing in balls from deep, like we saw against Spurs. They're still fantastic, Liverpool. They still could win the Premier League. They could win it all. But I think it's that midfield control that they lack slightly.
Okay. Buvey has a channel. If you don't know this, you need to go over to it. There's a link in the description. Click on it and then click the subscribe button once you get there. Because if you want more Buvey in your life, and I think we all do, then that's what you have to do. Mate, thank you very much. Good luck with a big week. Be careful with those outlandish statements. And thank you for providing one for this video. See you later, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.